Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the Alex Sports Show here on Friday, December 22nd. We are starting a little bit early today. Today's show, we will be going over my college basketball upset picks, my FF step process of what I would do as the Bucks GM this offseason, and a few NFL head coaching rumors to get us started here on my upset picks for college basketball. My first upset is George Mason +4 to upset Tulane. I just talked about George Mason here earlier in the week when I did my college basketball rankings. And here's what I have to say about George Mason. I think they can pull this upset. Tulane is good in basketball, but I don't know if they have the capability of beating a George Mason. My second upset is Austin Peay +4 to upset Ohio University. Again, Ohio's another team in the MAC that I really like, but I see reason to be skeptical here, and that Austin Peay, this point spread is very, very low. I thought it would be higher when the line opened last night at probably midnight for this game. I think it was 5, and it was 5.5. Then it went down to 4, and that's where it is right now. And I would jump on the line of Austin Peay +4 before it goes back up to 5. Or if it goes up higher than that, I would take Austin Peay +4 to upset Ohio. And personally, my favorite upset tonight is Maryland +3 to upset UCLA. Now, I think I've only picked UCLA once, and they're 0-1. If you want me to post on my YouTube community polls the record of every team I've used for picks, I will after the stream. But I'm telling you right now, I am feeling extra frisky about Maryland +3 here. I like the fact that Maryland has had some good games this year, and I feel like they can pull the upset here against UCLA. Here's my cover picks for college basketball today. My first one is South Florida, and this is a 2 o'clock game. So by 4 o'clock, we'll know if USF covered. It is South Florida -11 to cover the spread over Albany. South Florida has been playing really well under first-year head coach Amir Abdul-Rahim. I love this cover spot here, and I also like the next two covers as well, which we will get to in a minute. Second cover I like is Cincinnati -20.5 to cover the spread over Stetson. Now, you may say this is too big of a spread. I don't think so. I think it's the other way around. I think it's too low. I think Stetson's good, but I don't think they're that good. I did have them trending up last week in the A-Sun, but I don't think they're that good. And I'm going back to the well again with this third one. North Florida +17.5. I have taken them 4 times now. No, 5. And 3 out of the 5. So they're 3-1 so far. 3-1. They have covered. And I like them to cover again here against Georgia. I thought they were going to pull the upset against Florida State on Tuesday, I believe it was. They didn't, but they made a game of it, and they covered, and I think they can cover again. Now, here is my 5-step process. Here's what I would do if I was the GM of the Buccaneers this offseason. If I was GM, 5 things I would do. Number 5, and this is going to be kind of controversial, I would not re-sign Devin White. I like what I've seen from KJ Britt this year. I like what I've seen from the rookie Shavassi Dennis. And I've also liked what I've seen from some of the other linebackers that have played, like J.J. Russell. I like what I've seen from all of them this year. And I think you can get off without re-signing Devin White. Now, I know there's going to be Buccaneer fans out there that say, no, you should re-sign Devin White and let the other linebacker that's been there the longest go somewhere else, and you will hear about him in a minute. Sound up in the comment section down below and give me your opinion on whether you agree with me on the Buccaneers should not re-sign Devin White, or whether they shouldn't. And if you say they should, what kind of contract would you give Devin White? Number 4, and I don't care if the Bucs make the playoffs, Todd Bowles needs to be fired ASAP after this season. I don't care if they make the playoffs. He is too conservative of a head coach. He has so much talent on offense, from Baker Mayfield to Rachaad White to Cade Otton to Mike Evans to Chris Godwin, even rookie Trey Palmer, Raheem Jarrett, veteran David Moore. They have so much talent on offense and defense, and he's wasting it away. Here is 3 candidates I would hire to be the next head coach of the Buccaneers if Todd Bowles gets fired in the offseason. Number 3, Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator. Now, all 3 of these I will explain reasoning behind why I think the Buccaneers should hire them. The reason I think the Buccaneers should hire Ben Johnson is simple. Look at the Lions offense the last 2 years. They've been scoring a lot of points. If you bring in Ben Johnson and he can pick, Baker Mayfield has had a good season. If you give Ben Johnson, Baker Mayfield, for the 2nd year in a row, if Baker Mayfield does end up re-signing with the Bucs, which I will tell you whether I think the Bucs should re-sign him later on, I think Ben Johnson can do special things with the Buccaneers if they hire him as head coach. Number 2, Bobby Slovic, Texans offensive coordinator. This one is self-explanatory, but I will explain. I think Bobby Slovic would be the perfect hire for the Buccaneers. For one, look what he's done. Look what he's done with C.J. Stroud as a rookie. C.J. Stroud may be in the MVP race, and he might get votes for MVP as a rookie. If you would have told me that the Texans offense was going to be this good under Bobby Slovic at the beginning of the season, before week 1, I would have called you crazy. But I won't call you crazy now if you say that Bobby Slovic should be getting head coaching job offers from the NFL. And I think he would do wonders with a guy like Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. And number 1, Dave Canales, current Buccaneers offensive coordinator. I think he has done a fantastic job with the Buccaneers as their offensive coordinator this year. And I think if you want to stay in-house and hire somebody as head coach, he would be the perfect guy to have as the head coach for the Buccaneers this next year, if they fire Todd Bowles. Now, here is move number 3 I would make if I was the Buccaneers GM. Re-sign Levante David, or as I'm going to call him, Tay David Levante. And I give him a 1 year, $12 million deal to come back to the Buccaneers for 1 more year. Here is move number 2 I would make as the Buccaneers GM. And I teased it a minute ago when I said I would talk about him in a minute. It is franchise tag Baker Mayfield. Give him a 1 year prove it deal and say, look, you're going to play on the franchise tag. And if you play really good next year and improve, we will give you a long-term contract. And the reason I'm saying tag Baker Mayfield is because you'll see why in a minute. There's a certain big-name guy on the Buccaneers that the Buccaneers should not let leave Tampa Bay. But let me get back to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has had a really good season so far this year. He's limited his interceptions, which is the one criticism I had when the Bucs, one of the 2 criticisms I had when the Bucs signed him in the offseason. The other one was his character. And so far, I mean, he does show his character sometimes, but it's not as bad as it was in Cleveland or when he was in college at Oklahoma. And I have said this numerous times. I apologize for bashing the Buccaneers in the offseason for signing Baker Mayfield. I actually think it was a really good signing for the Buccaneers because they needed a quarterback because Brady retired. And I like the Buccaneers to franchise tag Baker Mayfield. And here is the top thing I would do if I was the Buccaneers in the offseason. And I want to know if y'all agree or disagree with me. Debate and sound up down in the comment section down below. Re-sign Mike Evans. Glazers, I don't care that you're freaking cheap. Don't let Mike Evans leave the Buccaneers in free agency for nothing. Give him a 3-year. Give him the same contract you gave Chris Godwin, Jason Light. 3 years, probably $23, $24 million with incentives because you know he's going to get 1,000 yards again. And I don't want Mike Evans leaving Tampa Bay. So, re-sign Mike Evans. Now, here's scenarios that I have for the Buccaneers in the draft. I'm giving you 2 scenarios for the first and second round of the draft. So, NFL Draft 2024. Here is scenario number 1. So, say the Buccaneers don't re-sign Mike Evans and they get to their pick. It's probably going to be in the 20s, and there might be some wide receivers left. Scenario 1, first round draft, wide receiver Keon Coleman, Florida State. He fits the bill of what Mike Evans was, a big body, stature wide receiver. The only issue with this pick I would have is, can he get separation? That is the one thing that he's had issue with in college at Florida State, is getting separation from the defensive backs. Now, I love this pick, like I said, a lot. If he's not there and you stay put at that pick, I would take if Brian Thomas Jr. is on the board. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a first-round pick. And if Keon Coleman's not on the board, you could just replace Keon Coleman and put Brian Thomas as the pick for the Buccaneers, wherever they end up picking in the first round. That's scenario number 1. Now, honestly, scenario number 2 is my favorite. It is the Buccaneers trading up in the first round with the Titans to take offensive lineman J.C. Latham out of Alabama. Now, y'all know how I feel about Alabama. Personally, I don't really like them, but they do produce a lot of good NFL players. Example, J.C. Latham. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. And I think if the Buccaneers trade up, which either of these options is fruitful, they could trade up with anybody to try to get Keon Coleman, like I said in the first one. But if they don't, and they stay put there, they take a wide receiver. If they trade up with somebody, it is to get an offensive lineman. Because Luke Giddicky, even though he's done okay at left tackle, because you move Tristan Wirfs over to the other side, I think J.C. Latham would be a day one starter at left tackle for the Buccaneers. And you have Tristan Wirfs at right tackle, who you have to re-sign. That's another thing I would do as the Buccaneers, is re-sign Tristan Wirfs this offseason. Give him the bag. Give him all the money you have. But back to this. Like I said, I would trade up with the Titans and take 8 offensive linemen. If J.C. Latham's not there, and somehow Fashanu has made it outside the top 5, and he's fallen to 10, I would trade up with the Titans and take Alu Fashanu or J.C. Latham with that pick. So here's the second round. So say in the first round you end up taking a offensive lineman. So scenario number 2 in the second round for your second round pick. Scenario 1 for the second round. Wide receiver Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Now, there's some people out there that think Troy Franklin can sneak into the first round. I see it. I like his route running. It's very crisp. But I don't see him going in the first round. I see him going early day number 2 of the draft. Either in the first part of the second round or second part, or maybe the third round. But if he's there for the Bucs in the second round with their second round pick, unless the Buccaneers trade up in the second round, I think they take wide receiver Troy Franklin out of Oregon. And you have Godwin move outside. You put Palmer in the slot, and then on the other side, as a perimeter receiver, is Troy Franklin. Now, again, scenario number 2 for the second round is my favorite, personally. And it is the Buccaneers taking in the second round with their second round pick, defensive end. If this guy makes it out of the first round, because I've seen mock drafts that I look at every day that have this guy sneaking in the middle to the end of the first round. Defensive end Jared Verse out of Florida State. Honestly, I could see a realm of possibilities where Jared Verse does not go in the first round, and he makes it to round number 2, and the Buccaneers take him in the second round. But if he's not there, I have a backup plan for the Buccaneers, and it is taking Ohio State defensive back Denzel Burke. As we've seen, the Buccaneers get toasted pretty much every week in the secondary by a number 1 receiver. Not last week, but the week before when they played Atlanta, Drake London had almost 150 yards receiving. So, what does that tell you? They need help in the secondary. I do like Jamel Dean, but I don't know if the Bucs re-signed Jamel Dean. And I do like Christian Izien, but he's not a boundary corner. He's a slot. And I do like Zion McCollum, and I think Zion McCollum can be a good rotational defensive back, but you also have Carlton Davis. Now, you may either lose Carlton Davis or Jamel Dean in free agency, which means you would have to draft a defensive back, and I think Denzel Burke is a second or third round pick, and I think if he's there for the Bucs in the second round, if Jared Verse is not on the board, the Buccaneers will take defensive back Denzel Burke out of Ohio State. Now, here's some. I'm still here. We are going to look up NFL coaching rumors now. Okay, so we're gonna look at NFL assistant coaches that could get head coaching jobs. And the first one is Ben Johnson with the Lions. Johnson probably could have been a head coach last offseason, but he wanted to be last offseason had he wanted to be. But the Lions play caller opted to stick in Detroit one more season this year. He's fought through injuries to the Lions' skill position players. An offensive line produced after outstanding unit. Johnson will likely be top candidate for any NFL team searching for a head coach, which I agree with. Brian Johnson, Eagles offensive coordinator. Yes, I can see him becoming a head coach. Bieniemy, we've already talked about. We've gone at length talking about Eric Bieniemy. Frank Smith, offensive coordinator for the Dolphins. Wes Phillips, Mike Kafka, Giants OC. Shane Waldron, Dave Canales, Todd Monken, Bobby Slowick. Oh, I spelled his name wrong. That's my bad. I'm trying to look. One of the rumors is that I've heard around the NFL is that Jim Harbaugh is probably as good as gone at Michigan after their playoff run this year. The Raiders have already put a package together for him, and he's also came out and said that he wants to coach the Chargers because he really likes Justin Herbert. And I could see Harbaugh going to the NFL. Later on, when the offseason comes around, I will be predicting every team that has fired their head coach and giving them predicting who the next head coach will be. Look out for that in the offseason. Now, the other rumor I've heard is Lincoln Riley is starting to maybe garner some buzz to be an NFL head coach too. Now, I don't know how much validity and truth I put into that because I haven't seen that many rumors about him wanting to leave USC. But if somebody did give him the quote-unquote bag to become their head coach for an NFL team, I think he would probably take it. Now, there is three coordinators in the NFL that I think should become head coaches. Obviously, number one, Eric Bieniemy. I've gone at length of talking about what I think of Eric Bieniemy. He's proved he doesn't need Mahomes. I think Bieniemy deserves to be head coach. He might be a head coach next year for the Commanders. They might get rid of Ron Rivera. Number two, Shane Waldron with the Seahawks. I think Shane Waldron deserves to be a head coach because he's had productive offenses with the Seahawks the last few years. And he took over for Dave Canales, who left Seattle to become the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. And we see how that's working out. Maybe he stays in Seattle and waits for Pete Carroll to retire and then becomes the head coach of the Seahawks. We'll never know. And then the last one is, and I talked about him for the Buccaneers, but Bobby Slowick. Offensive coordinator to Houston Texans. I think he's going to get interviewed for head coaching jobs. Mainly, maybe New England, if they decide to move off of Belichick. And same with Pittsburgh, if they decide to get rid of Tomlin, which that one, I think both of those are doubtful. There's a third team I would watch out for, and it's the Tennessee Titans, if they decide to get rid of Mike Vrabel. I think Bobby Slowick would be able to, how do I say this? I think Slowick would be able to unlock the full potential of Will Levis if he became the head coach in Tennessee. But now, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for me today. I will see y'all back here Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock for my college basketball rankings. If you want to keep up to date with me, you can follow me on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, and I will post those in the comments down below in this video. But have a great rest of your day and debate in the comment section on what I said about the Buccaneers and some of the NFL head coaches. And if you feel like this video was of any significance to you, please leave a thumbs up on the video. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future uploads, such as community polls or future upload videos, which I'm planning some big stuff for 2024. Like one, I'm just going to give you a hint. One is a challenge that I was inspired to do by a TikTok creator. His name is CFB Fudge. Go check him out on TikTok. And he inspired me to do this challenge called the Walk-On Challenge, where you try to walk on to every Division I college football field. And I'm going to try that, as well as trying to get some people on the show to interview them. But that's all I can tell you about some of the plans I have for 2024. But again, if you haven't already liked this video, please leave a thumbs up, comment on the video, give me your thoughts and opinions on what you feel like the Buccaneers or your favorite NFL team should do in the offseason. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads, and also go follow me over on Twitch, because these videos will also be going up on Twitch. Going forward, YouTube and Twitch will be getting the Alex Sports Show. So if you can't make it to live videos, you can watch the rerun. But that'll do it for me today. I will see y'all on Sunday. Have a great rest of your day and Merry Christmas. And I will say Merry Christmas again on Sunday. But have a wonderful rest of your day.